Hi, my name is Laura and I am from Fresh Solutions HR. And I'm going to be talking to you on Top Tips Friday, all about people are your best asset. I'm a HR consultant and I have spent around nearly 20 years of time in HR. Most of that time has been spent in what is classed as generalist human resources. And in the last 5 years, I left my PAI role and I had a family, and I've now come back to being a HR consultant, and I set up Fresh Solutions HR. And I'm really excited to talk to you today all about people. So Top Tips Friday is a great concept, I think, and I'm really pleased to talk to you about how I think people are your greatest asset. Now, there is some controversy about whether this is a loaded statement. So what I like to actually add is people are your greatest asset if you let them be and if you show them how to be. And I want to draw your attention to a great quote by Richard Branson, which is, "Clients do not come first, employees come first. If you take care of them, then they will take care of your clients." And I think this is personally a really brilliant statement and a way in which to describe, regardless of what type of organisation that you are, to think about your employees coming first, that they can then look after what it is that you're trying to achieve as an organisation. So when it comes to people, what's really important to remember, and I like to think of it in 3 different areas. I like to think about what you have, what you want, and what you need. But first, let's go back a step. What I like to do is I like to encourage my clients to go right back to the beginning and think about what is core to their organisation. So I'm going to ask you to do the same. So I want you to keep in mind throughout this your mission, your strategy, your core beliefs as an organisation, and your key objectives or your goals. And I'm also going to add that I want you to think about how flexible, how fluid, and how adaptable you are as an organisation, because that's where I think it is really key. So first, I'd like to think about what we have. Now, I like employees and clients, I like to think about what do they look like. And I don't mean what does their hair look like, what do they physically look like, but I like to get clients to start to think about what their organisation looks like. And a really easy way to do this is using HR data. It's that raw data that you have that includes obviously the names of your individuals, where they come from, where they're based, their departments, the roles that they do, the age of your employees, lots and lots of different factors. That's that core data. It's all information that you're allowed to retain as an employer, and how you can start to think about what the shape of your organisation looks like. And then I ask, what is it representative? What does it look like? So is it diverse enough? Really important topic that we're talking about at the moment. And what's the makeup of the organisation? So thinking about those 3 things together, it's really also important to note at this stage that I don't ask my clients to think about their competitors and the rest of the sector. For now, we'll come on to that. So I then get them to think about how they feel. Now, this is where sometimes people get a little bit like, oh, she's going to go a little bit kooky on me. But just hold with me for a second, because what's really important is how your organisation feels. It's what your employees feel. They are people at the end of the day. So it's thinking about what the employee engagement is like within your organisation. Have you ever done an engagement survey, for example? Have you ever done any kind of survey? Do you get regular feedback from your managers? And do they get regular feedback from their employees, from their teams? Do you do 360 appraisals? That means 360 degrees, so giving feedback on a number of different people or clients or sectors. Do you do appraisals at all? And also, do you do exit interviews? And that's a really useful tool, particularly as people are exiting the business or leaving. They can give a really clear insight into the type of organisation that you have created or what's happening within the organisation. So now I ask them to consider, what else do we have? And this is where we start to look at what tangible things do you have. So we have employment contracts, hopefully, and you can start to think about what the statutory and what the contractual benefits are that you include within your contract. What do you offer employees? And I'll just differentiate. When I talk about statutory, I mean, for example, what's the statutory parental leave that is the state provides you with, for example. And then contractually, what do you offer on top of what the state provides you with? I then ask them to start thinking about employee benefits and looking at employee benefit programs or platforms. And then really importantly, to start to think about those intangible benefits. Now, I'm just going to give a little bit of context to where my kind of head is at the moment. So as a HR professional, I'm always trying to learn and develop and to grow. And I recently attended the CIPD Festival of Work, which was all about the future for businesses. And these are just some of the hot topics that were talked about and were able to be learnt more about. So, of course, we talked about COVID-19, but most importantly, that next phase for businesses, what does it look like? We talked about good business practice, qualities that we need in our businesses, both of individuals and as a business, what qualities do we need to succeed? We looked at maintaining consistent culture, engagement, flexibility, cultural change, balance and fairness, emotional intelligence, and learning and development, or training is more commonly known perhaps. So if I now think about employee benefits, particularly with those hot topics in mind, employee benefits I sometimes think is a little bit of an outdated product or term. What I like to instead think about is an employee assistance program. This is an EAP, an acronym. So an employee assistance program, the benefits if you like, is starting to think about what assesses and supports employees' physical health and their emotional or mental well-being. It starts to think about how you can support employees with personal problems, perhaps outside of work. And really importantly, at the moment where we are, there's a lot going on for people in their home environments. And whilst they're working from home as well, a lot of different factors come into that. Financial concerns, perhaps childcare, lots of different things. And we need to start to think as employers about how we can support people in that. Improve the trust between teams and individuals, very much so in the way that these platforms and products are often designed, is to enable trust between teams and what they input and individuals. A user-friendly platform product, brilliant. And of course, it will enhance engagement of your workforce, your employees. So I wanted to give an example of what an employee assistance program, what one of the products might be as part of it. Now, there are hundreds, thousands of different types of EAPs out there. And this is one in particular that I have been learning more about and working with over the last few months. And this is a company called Ravula, Mind and Body. Now, a lot of traditional products or apps, if you like, they often think about the mind, so wellness, mindfulness, activities that can give us relaxation and calm. And then the physical side, so we often might create things like health programs to do the fitness and exercise, diet or nutrition of our employees. But this really useful, great product, very innovative, I think, Ravula Mind and Body, looks at both mind and body classes and open workouts. So it allows individuals to have an app like this, for you to use it within your organisation, and for then you to really, really think about all those important things, that giving someone the time and space to allow their mind and their body and those two things to come together. It's a really great product. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, I should say, but it's a really, really great product. And I think that it's really, really essential to find a product that works for you. So if we go back a step, then we talked about intangible benefits. Now, this is where the real heart of thinking about your people begins. And it's reflecting on what the organisation offers your employees outside of an EAP. Employees are people after all. So think about the values that they expect. Do they want to be respected? Things to be fair, to have value, to have dignity, a work-life balance, health and wellness focus, job satisfaction, purpose of their role, professional growth, perhaps it might be promotion or within their existing role, and brand. And I always mention brand here because I think it's really, really important. If you are a really worldwide global organisation, perhaps you're a search engine that begins with G and ends in E, you will already have attracted individuals and will continue to maintain those individuals within your organisation because of your brand. But if, for example, you are a similar organisation and you're much more localised, you won't have that brand association. And so you need to think about how you can start to create that, particularly if you're looking to expand your workforce and grow to a much larger organisation. Brand is going to be really key for you. So some of the biggest mistakes, I'm going to have to mention them here. Failure to recognise that you even make a mistake is very important. Lack of commitment to change. So if you realise that you've made mistakes, then how, if you don't commit to making those changes, how can your employees to respect you and think that they're being treated fairly? And finally, choosing not to communicate. I think it's really, really remiss of organisations that choose not to communicate as effectively as they can with their employees. And here's this little bubble of just some of the specifics when it comes to examples of some of those mistakes. So, for example, poor management training, poor management support, lack of performance appraisals, lack of or poor feedback, misaligned objectives, lack of flexibility, and resistance to change. So we've thought about what we might do wrong, we've thought about what we have. Now we need to start to think about what do we want and what do we need. And we've assessed what we have, so let's look at what we want and what we need. And for me, the key difference in what organisation is starting to think about is this lovely flowchart here. So when I start to talk to organisations, I want you to think about what are those essential and desirable characteristics that you think that you want for your organisation. And that might be the characteristics of the individuals, it might be the characteristics of your organisation. Think as well about being specific versus non-specific. So do you need a specific person or a specific role in your organisation? For example, a developer or a marketeer? Or do you just need a pure quantity of numbers of employees? Start to think, of course, about budget and cost and longevity. How long do you need these people for? And all of these things lead me to that you need a people strategy. So those things are what you want, but what you need strategy. So people strategy for 2020. This is all about, and a lot of large organisations have a key document called a people strategy. So my people strategy for 2020 and beyond is starting to think absolutely for the next decade about your employees being more centralised, more important to your organisation than they've ever been before. You need to start to thinking about moving towards understanding what they want and their interactions in your business. Employee experience is critical. The community you're creating. The digital rethink. So do you need to enhance your digital footprint? Do you need to think about how you use digital technology within your business? Workplace design, partly because of where we are at the moment with COVID-19, but also how do you want your organisation to feel physically, facilities-wise? Flexibility and agility, the purpose of your organisation, and of course inclusion. So where do you start? Well, if you have an in-house HR or operational team, start there. You need to absolutely use your best people for the job, remember. If you don't have a HR or you don't have an operational team, perhaps it's something that your managing directors or your key founders can't do, then you need to seek out that support. And we've seen over the last few weeks my colleagues from Your Wellbeing Hub, Plan C, Sarah Hazelwood Writing Services, and of course myself. And there are many, many more, much more part of the RH networking group and of course beyond. So really do take the time to seek out the people that are the best at doing these things, at creating those strategies. So let's recap because we've gone through quite a lot of things in those 10 to 11 minutes. So people are your greatest asset, but only if you let them be and you show them how to be. Look after your employees. After all, they will look after your customers. Be clear on what you have and what you want and what you need. Keep in mind your organisation's mission, strategy and your objectives. Ensure you have a robust people strategy which absolutely includes employee experience and EAP and creating that culture and community that we've spoken briefly about. And finally, trying to be as flexible as possible, as fluid as possible as you can be, and adaptability. So thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it. It has been a whirlwind through what I might consider as people and how they are your best asset. But if you have any questions or you'd like to know more, then you can contact me at any of the following places. There's my email, my website, my telephone number, my Facebook and Instagram social media, and my LinkedIn profile. I've really enjoyed speaking to you today, and a final thank you to the great team at RH Networking. Thank you very much for asking me to be part of your Top Tips Friday. Thank you and have a great weekend. Bye.